Yeah, so launched the community sale to the site. We'll start promoting it on Monday. And, you know, we launched the Discord to a select group of members. And so now, we've seen, we've had a few teachers join today, which was really cool. We had Jen Kramer, David Khorshid. Who else is in here? Mike North and John Cooperman and Ben uh, for Vue and Nuxt. So we've had some teachers join. So hopefully we can maybe host some hangouts with teachers, that kind of thing. And I hope that people are able to kind of ask questions. I saw like there's been a lot of people talking in kind of topic suggestions, which I've really appreciated. The topic suggestions, because that really is the way that we kind of continue to make sure that we get the right topics, and we have a really epic lineup coming up for the rest of the fall. I'm really, really excited about all the workshops that we got coming up. And yeah, I mean, topic suggestions coming in. I know most people email us support@frontendmasters.com to suggest their topics, and then we kind of set up a queue. And a lot of people ask how topic selection works, and that really is it. It's you all asking. Now we have this Discord set up, so you can ask there, shouting us out on Twitter, and then emailing support, and then through that we're able to kind of look. I also am always looking at new stuff coming out, conferences, that kind of thing, and just talking with our teachers and seeing like what we should record. So it's kind of how it works. It's a bit informal, but I always kind of I target. I kind of have it the third rule, which 30% of our courses we should be taking our popular courses, say like our top 50 or 100 courses, and making sure that a third of those, or a third of the spaces that we have available throughout the year, go into updating courses. And then another third is really like topics that we're missing. So if you go to like learning paths, and maybe people are suggesting that we're missing something on a learning path, those kinds of things, we want to record courses that will round out those learning paths. So it's like updates, rounding out the learning paths, and then the other third is really experimental. Adrian, welcome. Let's see if anybody else joined. I unmuted you all if you ever want to chime in and ask a question or whatever. But that third rule is kind of generally how course selection happens. And yeah, so the community sale, very exciting. The Discord, it's great to see all of you in here. And then the big one we don't have launched yet, but it's going to be, we hope everybody loves it. It's the team has put in a tremendous amount of work into launching user profiles. So you'll be able to choose a username on frontendmasters.com, and then like one-click generate a user profile. And so you'll see it's kind of somewhat loosely based on GitHub contribution charts, where you, in our case, instead of a GitHub contribution, you have a learning action. So things that you've taken, learning actions that you've taken throughout the platform, whether it's taking notes or bookmarks or watching a course, you'll get kind of a timeline. And so those are broken into like 1 week blocks, and we'll have learning streaks and that kind of thing. So hopefully that people enjoy like building out their profile. We hope to add more like customizations and stuff, but out of the box, we just want to get our stats correct and all of the data correct, and also just get everybody's feedback on what they want out of a user profile. It's, I don't know, we're really excited. Team has put in a ton of work, and yeah, we're very, very excited about that. Any
Can you hear me, Mark?
Yeah, what's up? Why?
Oh, wow, it worked.
It
Yeah, so
does.
push to talk is the issue.
I see.
Users have to go in and set a specific key binding, and then their microphones will only work when they're holding down that particular key. That is the issue. Also, hello, fellow front-end masters, etc. Yeah, this is really exciting. Thanks for putting this on.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Uh,
Yeah, likewise. That was what I just figured out. So, uh, thanks for having me on. And what's going on, everyone?
yeah, what's going on, Adrian? Hey, I've got a question. How did you find out about Frontend Masters?
I've been subscribed to Frontend Masters for a while now. I think it was when I first got into the software development engineering space. A coworker had suggested me at one of my first jobs.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'd say that it is probably the majority at this point have found out about Frontend Masters through like other colleagues and other coworkers. Like we've got a really strong word of mouth, but people have been like reaching out and saying that we should actually do advertising and that kind of thing because they wish they found out about Frontend Masters earlier. So I guess that's on me. Like I should definitely do a better job promoting it. And I think what we'll do is we'll like take a bunch of clips from our courses and kind of post them like cool clips and stuff out to like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. And I think that should help. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
nice. I mean, on my end, where I'm working at now, I'm talking to the engineering director, trying to see if he can get like a team license together.
Sweet.
Because, like I said, I've used you guys for a while, and your courses are legit. So,
That's awesome. Um, what's I've got another question. So what would you say is like your favorite course or favorite couple of courses that you've taken?
favorite ones. Oh man, I would really have to think. Just give me like a few minutes to see
No,
which
it's
ones
all good.
are really. The
Oh,
AWS courses, I'll say that the AWS courses were really nice
oh yeah, you liked
because, yeah,
Steve Kinney's?
yeah, yeah, that's exactly how I landed the job where I'm at now. Believe it or not,
Wow.
I took the AWS course and finished that, and then I built like a little side project. And for the interview, they wanted AWS experience, and I was like, well, this is what I've built. And sure enough, it was the same product set.
That
And
is
they're using like the AWS suite. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And sure enough, got hired that week.
that is amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean that comes like that's hat tip to Steve Kinney for putting that course together. But I mean, in general, that's kind of our philosophy is like the teachers teaching things that they've learned on the job. They've learned they use at work, and then, like you said, it's like that's the exact stack that they, those are the exact skills that they were looking for. So that's really cool. Um, in chat, we've got a couple of people jumping in chat. Alive Kiwi says they were studying in college and their friend suggested the GitHub Student Developer Pack, and then that's how they got to know about Frontend Masters. So if you all didn't know, like we put together a program with the GitHub Student Developer Pack. So like students get 6 months access um, through it was kind of our answer to like all these students were writing in for student discounts, and it's like how do we know whether somebody's a student or not? Like we have no idea. And so we just kind of like outsource that to GitHub, and GitHub verifies people are students or not, and then they give them access. So Alexander says his favorite course was Fundamentals to Functional by Bianca. That's it's, yeah, it's cool. Um, and then
If I may, one thing I would like to highlight, and this
yeah,
is just me personally,
sure.
what I really dig about the whole front end master platform is your learning paths. Because for me, I'm a person that I need like a certain like direction, like a syllabus, if you will, of like what to learn next. Because in this game, there's so many directions you can take.
Yeah.
And so these learning paths help keep me focused. So
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting, like when we started like ramping up tons and tons of courses. I think it was like 2017, 2018. I think people were always just writing in like, and again, like Frontend Masters really built around the community. Like every single feature that we have is because people asked. And yeah, people were like, hey, I don't know which course to take in what order and that kind of thing. And so that's where like the learning paths have been not just helpful for students, like you're saying, like which is awesome, but also it helps teachers too, because then they can kind of assume certain knowledge before they're teaching the next course, so they can like think, okay, this student has already gone through these two courses. I can kind of assume that they're at this level, and so then they're not, you know, constantly having to review things or like talking down to you or whatever, right? Because they can kind of like know that you've kind of gone through some of these courses beforehand. And so that's why learning paths are like awesome for students, but they're really awesome for teachers as well. So yeah, that's, and on that, like I definitely want to hear from any of you if you have any suggestions or ideas as you're going through those learning paths. Like, I wish I would have known this, or you guys are missing this or that, like, or even really this course needs to be updated or whatever. Like those type of things when you write into support at frontendmasters.com, or even like anywhere in this Discord or whatever. Like that type of stuff is super helpful. Super helpful. Let's see. Sergio said that he joined through the community sale discount. Got an offer that he couldn't refuse, and then yeah, he likes the idea of gamification. And yeah, that's I think the user profiles start to kind of add some of that gamification, because you can actually look at your profile and see like, oh well, I've taken all these courses and that kind of thing. I know I've been using a service called Blinkist. I don't know if anybody's heard of Blinkist, but I've been using them a lot, because I can't, like, I'm never gonna read some of these nonfiction books, like especially some of the stuff that I want to learn about is just super dry, and I'm never gonna like go through a 700-page book on it. But I can listen to like an hour or a half hour audio version of it, and kind of see if I actually want to listen to it. But anyways, the point is, they actually have that kind of like, you've completed this many of course, or this many blinks they call them or whatever. And so I hope that we get that same type of thing where it's like, oh yeah, I've actually completed 30 courses on Frontend Masters, and then that not only does it mean something to you, but maybe it means something to employer, that kind of thing, that they can check out the your profile and see all the kinds of things that you're learning. So
I have a quick suggestion
Sure.
for a feature.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the learning paths are great. I think so nowadays you have just a sea of training websites. You have Linda, LinkedIn, Pluralsight, a lot of them. So it's really difficult to find like a course besides staying it, or maybe it just happens to me, but I start a course on a website and then I find another one which seems to be more useful or something like that, and then I left it like at 10% and I switched to others. So that's really difficult for us, the students. But I've seen that in the last years, all these websites have added learning paths, so they're definitely helping both, as you said, students and teachers. But it would be really helpful to have also some quizzes and challenges after a course, like to verify your level, and see if you're ready to, or maybe just as a way to refresh your, I don't know, to remember the stuff you learned.
Yeah,
between courses. So yeah.
I definitely like that idea of like, I mean, it's there's assessments, there's like spaced repetition, there's all these kinds of like things that are common
Exactly.
and proven really. And I mean, at the end of the day, like Frontend Masters, I think, our goal was to provide the highest quality education. Um, kind of the first part of that, and then the second part of that is now, and we've always tried to incorporate projects through the courses, so you're building something. You're not just, I mean, some of our courses are certainly like more smaller exercise based, especially language fundamentals, but like Complete Intro to React, you're building like a pet finder app. And then at the end of that course, I believe he gives you some challenges, like try to go in and add this feature or add that feature, to kind of prove that you know this. And so we've been trying to like incorporate more of that, but I agree with you, like having a more official kind of way to, like, after you've taken a course, either assess through, it could be as simple as multiple choice, or it could be, like build a project. But when I think about building a project to assess your skills, I think the number one thing at this point, as far as feature requests, is certifications. I mean, people just constantly ask us for certifications. And um, so when I think about building a project and like assessing whether you know something, I think about certifications and how do we like make projects that kind of like encompass like the set of skills that you learn from a learning path, so then you could then in theory like submit that solution and then like actually get a certification. um I don't know, those are some
Yeah,
of the
but
things that we're thinking of.
the current feature that will be released with the public profile is kind of a certification sort of thing, because if you have some interview and then you can share your profile in that profile, from the screenshots that I've seen, it shows your progress and all the courses and everything. It's just like certification. So it's great. And the other thing I wanted to add is that the most important thing for me that convinced me to buy the subscription compared to other sites is that nowadays, for example, to learn React, you can have Udemy and a lot of, or better said, you can learn something and teach it yourself, but it's different when it comes from a teacher that actually works with that technology in the company, because that offers like the edge and the difference. It has practical experience and you learn from that experience. That's not something that can be, learned from books or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of ties back to what, Adrian's experience of like taking the AWS course that was given by Steve Kinney, that he was, he literally just taught the same thing he was doing at work, and I think like that's our philosophy with our instructors. Like, we don't want to just get it, yeah, you don't want to get, there's nothing wrong with people teaching at any stage. I want to get, at least caveat that. But when it comes to like a paid service, and like what we try to offer, or what we do offer, is like making sure that that's one of our criteria for teaching on Frontend Masters, is like you have actual experience shipping code in the thing that you're teaching to, you're teaching a course on. So we've certainly had to pass on instructors that could have been probably very good instructors, but they didn't have actual experience shipping code at their company, and or shipping that specific technology out to the world. And the issue with kind of learning in a black box like that is, until you all know that you all in this room are software engineers. Like, until you ship something, you really don't know, like, you don't know what you don't know. And you might find out that only 20% of the API is actually useful, and the other it gives you the results and like what to avoid, because we can go down learning rabbit holes, learning entire APIs and wasting a lot of time. So yeah, having teachers on the platform that actually use it for their job is super, super important, for sure. Yeah, I mean, look at my notes here. So yeah, the Discord and then the user profiles are coming, and they're going to be awesome. I hope you all love them. And then another feature that we've kind of silently like slid onto the website is the ability to click and add feedback to a specific part of the course or a lesson or whatever. So you're watching it, and let's say maybe the teacher, or maybe you have an additional thought, or you just really love the lesson. Really, you can use it for any type of feedback you want to, but you can you can share feedback to instructors. You can ask questions about the lesson or something around the lesson. You can report issues if there's an issue that you find or run into. You can do that as well, but it's just basically a button on the top right side of the player that says feedback, and you can really drop anything in there. And our team is going to be watching that or looking at that and then seeing, okay, is this something that we can address internally as a team, or is this something that we need to incorporate an instructor in to expound on? And like the good questions that have also good answers, then we can then turn around and put that, the goal is, and we've done this a few times, we've actually turned around and put that back into the course. So for instance, I'll just give you for instance of something that happened. So Kyle Simpson's Deep Foundations course is a super in-depth course on JavaScript. JavaScript itself really hasn't changed since. There's been a few new additional features they've added, but the core of the language hasn't changed, right? So they did add one additional feature to the language, which added a type called bigint. And so somebody wrote in, JavaScript has changed. They added bigint, and so we then verified that with Kyle, and then we added that as an annotation right back into the course. So when you get to that section of the course, you see the primitive types, and then annotation will pop in, and it'll say, hey, since whatever whatever it is, bigint has been added as a primitive. And so that's an example of the community actually enhancing the course. And so we can kind of turn these courses that are super excellent, but as things change, we are able to then take feedback from you all and then actually incorporate it back into the course. And I think the idea for this feature is to hopefully solicit some feedback, whether good or bad or whatever, and then we can surface that to teachers as well, so that it's out there. You can do it today, and I think people don't really know that it's there. But now with the promotion that we just ran, we're gonna try to promote that and promote using that feature more. So the feedback feature, let's see. So, any thoughts or questions on that? I don't know. Lodbug says, I like the slides from the courses at Frontend Masters. They're simple and easy to follow, especially for the content that would sometimes otherwise be challenging. I think you're referring to the course websites that we do. Like some teachers use course slides, and we found that slides, although they look better, they look nice, they're not easily referenceable. When you want to come back to something later, it's a little bit difficult to like find the specific code or the specific thing that you're looking for, and so we've made these course websites, and I think they're originally on Gatsby. A few people did them on like 11D. I think Vercel Next has like a new builder, so Lydia's new course was using Next-based one, and then the new course website builder is on Next, and so that allows people to teachers basically to, create their notes in Markdown and then build these course websites, these course companion websites that go along with each course, and that's completely open source. And so it's been cool to see some community contributions as well as just community contributions on the actual sites themselves. I think we as a team could do better. Team and teachers could do better looking at those PRs more often and that thing, or that like having a better cadence for that. That's something that we hope to have kind of metrics internally and metrics for teachers to kind of make sure that those course websites and those course resources are clean. But I think so far, like, I'm not really aware of any other e-learning companies that do that as much as we do, and we certainly try to keep those up to date. And it's, I don't know, I think the course websites are working out really, really well, and people like them. They're easily referenceable. You can copy and paste code from them and that kind of thing. Another question, are all the in-person sessions are in Minneapolis? Is there a chance that we can do things in other places? It was interesting, without getting too in-depth into it, but during the pandemic, we had to figure out how we're going to record these things, because not everybody was going to fly to Minneapolis, nor should they have in the middle of the pandemic. But we built these kind of remote kits where it's kind of a set of hardware and software that we can bring to a different location. So we actually did host Rich Harris's Svelte workshop was actually recorded in a studio in New York, and Sarah Drasner's latest course was filmed in Denver, and Leah Verou's and a few others, Caddy Cromans, were hosted in London, and then also we did a few in San Francisco. So we have the capability to do these everywhere. The problem is that we just have such an excellent studio here in Minneapolis. Like, I'm in the studio right now. The acoustics, really the only thing we get occasionally is like a siren, from being in the city, but it's pretty difficult to replicate what we have in these other locations, especially with, the in-person audience setup with the mics and everything. You see that you hear in our courses that students are asking questions, and so that stuff is like much more difficult to set up in other locations. And I think that at some point we definitely, if we do it again, we're going to do it again with an audience for sure, because I think that some of those courses that we recorded during the pandemic with the remote kit, they don't have the same magic of the teachers and the students kind of talking back and forth with each other as our normal, in person in Minneapolis studio courses do. They definitely, you can see it, like the instructor carries their energy throughout the entire day, and just having that added kind of visual feedback of them being able to talk to people really kind of keeps their energy up throughout the day. So if we do it remotely in another place, yeah, we'll definitely do it with a in-person audience in that remote location, because that would be super fun to meet the community in other areas of the world. Like, I think New York, San Francisco, and London are really, there's very large, Frontend Masters communities that would be really simple to get, people in the room, and also very fun. So speaking about the audience, if an audience member asks a question, could you have the instructor repeat the question? It's interesting. Most of the time we do have them repeat, but in some cases, the teacher's just thinking about answering the questions, and I think we don't want to interrupt their flow always, And we try to get the audience questions in there at a good volume so you can hear them. I think some audience members are quieter than others, and it's difficult to get the right audio levels in the room. But yeah, especially for audience members that are quiet and that kind of thing, I think you're right. We should have the instructors repeat. It's just like, what, do we have them always repeat it even if they're in the flow of teaching? That's one of those like live on the spot things that's kind of difficult to manage. But yeah, it's something that we're definitely mindful of and conscious of. There's a few questions in the Hangout chat that I should probably address. One is, what's the roadmap for the mobile app? And specifically, they want to be able to play the videos and listen to courses with the screen off. And as far as I know, we have that feature actually built into the mobile apps. It could be an Android only feature. So if you have the Android app, and you should be able to shut the screen off and still listen. If you don't, you can always file an issue. Like if you just Google like Frontend Masters iOS issues or Frontend Masters Android issues, you can see we actually have public repos for tracking that type of stuff. So you're free to throw in a feature request of what you'd like to see from us on our iOS and Android apps, and we'll continue to build those out. As far as things that we're thinking of, I think there's some learning path stuff that needs to have feature parity with the website. I know picture-in-picture has been a really big thing, and then a kind of centralized download UI, the way to kind of manage your downloads and how much space you have taken up on your device. I know it's interesting that our international audience really uses the heck out of our mobile apps, especially the offline features. Places with where you don't have a ton of internet connectivity. Also, people who commute on trains and planes, highly congested areas, like they definitely use the apps. And then yeah, I mean, see, there's also it was interesting. There's a question about if we're gonna make a app for the TVs for Apple TV or Android TV, and I think the answer to that is not soon. The thing that we did was we invested a lot into streaming out from Android and iOS apps, so you can actually take the iOS app or Android app and just hit cast. So you can go out to your any of your TV or Chromecast or anything like that, and I've used that. It works awesome. So yeah, technically I guess we have that feature. It's just we don't have like a native TV app. Who is the most popular instructor on Frontend Masters? Unofficially, I don't know what you mean by unofficially, but yeah. And what are the chances that we can get another Will Sentence workshop? So I think officially or unofficially, the most popular instructor at this point is Brian Holt, and I think that's mostly because he has a very large library of courses. How this man is able to continue to make such high quality courses and such a diverse set of high quality courses is just absolutely amazing. I mean, he's a phenom. It's even the latest SQL course. I actually took that workshop. So on our team, Dustin kind of took over my role of asking the questions from the chat and monitoring chat and segmenting and documenting the workshop, and I just sat in the course and I took it. I did all the exercises. I did until my brain melted, as one does when you're in a workshop where you're learning new things. But yeah, I was able to do some, multiple joins, queries, and that kind of thing. And I don't know, it's just really really cool to see him teach such a wide range of things from from React to there was even one that we did an experiment with him in the middle of the pandemic, which was a complete front end project building a game, and you built like a Tamagotchi game, and it was pretty sweet. So I don't know. Yeah. So officially, I guess he's kind of the most popular um, instructor, but when it comes to actual course engagement, so like one specific course having like the most watch time, that would definitely be Will Sentence with the hard parts. So he is very, very visual, different style, like, obviously right in your face, tons of energy. And I'm seeing a little bit of that same kind of energy with the Primogen, especially as you'll see his new course on algorithms coming up very very soon, where having that energy and all that is really really awesome, and just like knowing how things work and having a visual representation of that and drawing that out, it's just such a rare skill set to be able to visualize those type of things and write it on the board, and so you can really kind of understand how these things are working together. And so yeah, Will Sentence, his his yeah, his course engagement metrics are through the roof, and people really really love his stuff. And he's working on a new hard parts. It's more hard parts of UI development than it is specifically React, but he does have like a module that's focused on React, but it'll be more about like the DOM and interacting with the DOM, these kinds of things, and like HTML. And it's almost like the hard parts of HTML and DOM APIs and that kind of thing. So I'm excited about seeing like how that's all panning out. Like he's been working very hard on it. He's been kind of delivering it to a test audience, and he kind of workshops out his material, and he yeah, so yeah, he's been doing tests. That's all I can say. I can't say that he's gonna be able to do it by the end of the year. Gosh, I hope so. I absolutely hope so. It would be great to see another Will Sentence course before the end of the year, but um, I'm not sure that we will. It's just it's all about timing and hard work, right? He wants these things to be amazing when they do come out. Please send lots of love to Primogen. Yeah, absolutely. Um, and then yeah, should you watch Brian's old courses or not? Yeah, I mean, I think we try to do a good job of making sure that we archive or deprecate things that are out of date when we see something that somebody is not able to actually accomplish a course, or there's a lot of drop off at a specific point, or people are writing in about a specific course being out of date. We try to either, I guess, two approaches to that. We invite the instructor back to revamp their curriculum to latest best practices, or if that instructor just does not want to teach that topic again, or they've moved on to other things, then we find another instructor. So yeah, in a few cases we've we kind of we prefer to have the same instructor that did their original course update their course. We definitely give that to them, and then if they don't have the time or they're on to something else, then we try to find somebody else that can kind of fill that role. So I know somebody mentioned in the chat, in the Discord, about that our courses list used to be hundreds and hundreds long, and then we added this archive feature where old versions of courses now point to new courses, or we'll have certain courses that we say that they're archived or deprecated, and then we'll like add a little message about what that means, and then that goes into like the archive. And so you can still access those courses. They're still in the archive, but they're not recommended. So if you go to frontendmasters.com/courses, there is over 100 courses there, but we try to make sure that all of those are in a state that people can take them and get value out of them. And if they're not, then we try to either update or deprecate them. So that's kind of how we handle updates. And like I said, it's a third rule of updates, new additional courses, and then I think I missed the last third. The last third is actual experimentation. New courses. We're putting together a new course called Beats for Developers. Like we did video games for web developers, or Unity for developers, for web developers. So web developers perspective, getting into game development, and that was a new experiment. And so like we definitely want to carve out space in our curriculum for just new experimental stuff. Like the polyglot, Go, TypeScript, and Rust course was an experiment. Honestly, Vim was an experiment with Primogen. And then like the video game one, Unity, also like Swift. We did Swift and Kotlin and Flutter. Flutter wasn't really experimental. I would say that's more fundamentals, but definitely having like native stuff on the platform was experimental. And so that's kind of how we think about the curriculum, is like updates, additional fundamentals, and then experiments, and just seeing from the community what you all want to see, and maybe, and the Beats for Developers will be interesting. I hope it does really well. I hope people enjoy making beats, but you never know. It's an experiment. So let's see. Would definitely like more database courses, starting to learn more Go and things with SQL. Yeah, we have a Go for developers course, or Go for JavaScript developers course. And honestly, we use Go on frontendmasters.com. So our CTO is always scouting for new Go teachers, new Go content, because he secretly wants more Go stuff on the platform, or not so secretly, I guess, because we use the heck out of Go. Our stack is a lot of vanilla Go on the back end, and then we use Hugo for our CMS. So a Hugo course would be sweet. More Go stuff would be sweet, and then we have the SQL course coming out. That's just, I thought it was awesome. Like, I'm not a SQL person. I sat in the course, I did the exercises, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I think you all will like the SQL course. Let's see, DSP programming. Can someone explain to me what DSP is? I'd have to Google that.
Digital signal processing.
Okay.
So as a hobby, I make music. I've played in clubs and all of that stuff, right? And a few friends of mine we've been toying with the idea of creating VSTs, like virtual instruments and digital processors.
Yeah.
And I know there's a few libraries where you can create these effects or sound generators in JavaScript and in other languages. So
you
had mentioned like making beats. I think that would be like another. It'll be like super niche. But
super niche, for sure. But I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, we gotta have some fun. Like this, like I don't know. Programming is fun. We gotta do some fun stuff. So Beats for Developers. That's something we're working on. And we do have actually a course that you might be interested in called so it's Visualization and Audio by Matt Delorier, and you can take a look at it. And he actually creates, basically to music, visualizations to music. And so, it's pretty sweet. Matt Delorier. His stuff is really, really cool. It's like his content is amazing, but I feel like maybe it doesn't get as much play as it deserves for how cool some of that stuff is. But he uses Tone.js to kind of like make sounds with web audio API and that kind of thing.
Definitely cool. I'll check it out. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see what else. Out of curiosity, who develops the website and the features? How big is that team? So yeah, we have our team total is 14 at this point, and we use AWS. A lot of like we work with basically our backend team does a lot of that stuff. So I unfortunately am not the right person to talk about the backend of frontendmasters.com. But we definitely use Go and AWS, and we've got the whole ability to kind of provision servers, and we have a bunch of servers, and we use CloudFront. So it's one kind of cool thing that I can talk about that we launched that made our video player much faster, is that we actually use like a serverless Lambda to kind of determine generally your location, and then from there we point to our video that's hosted on CloudFront, or whatever that CloudFront server that's closest to that IP range. And so that allows, because specifically people in like India were having a lot of trouble streaming our videos, and so like implementing that feature of like having all of our source videos on distributed on these different clusters around the world, and then like having a Lambda that kind of determines where you're at, or what server range or servers would be closest to you, and like that sped things up on the video player. But I can speak a lot more. So I mean, we do have a lot of really cool stuff like that on the back end, but I think obviously I can speak to the front end much better because I work on it. I'm actively shipping code to it very frequently. We use Hugo, and so we try to render as much on the server as possible with Hugo, and then we just use these Go Hugo templates, and then it's all vanilla JavaScript on the front end. So we use Webpack to kind of stitch everything together. We use CSS modules. I think in the future we might either move to Webpack 5 or Vite, something like that. But yeah, in general, it's all try to server render as much as possible and use as much or as little as code as possible. And so that's kind of the engineering mindset on the front end and the back end, is just to write the code for the job, and don't write a lot of extra boilerplate or use frameworks or anything like that. So yeah, I think that's our philosophy in general. Let's see. Yeah, what cloud do you use for hosting video player? Yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's CloudFront has our files, and we encode out to CloudFront, and then we serve our videos from there. The player itself is built on Video.js. We use such a small amount of the Video.js surface area. I think we could just build on top of the HTML5 video element and just expose the APIs that we need. Just kind of replicate the stuff that we do use from Video.js under the hood, and cut out some code there. But in general, Video.js works fine. And then, but the actual player itself is using Mithril. So we use Mithril. It's just a very, very, very small, simple library. But I think most of our stuff, we used to use Mithril a lot more, and we continue to migrate more and more to just vanilla JavaScript. It's like we're finding these patterns and idioms as a team where we're kind of able to do all the things that we need to do with vanilla, and it's just ends up being less to maintain, less libraries to maintain, and yeah, there's ongoing debates internally about what architecture we should use as far as each of those modules and that kind of thing. But I've been trying to, that was part of like the TodoMVC. I don't know if you saw that blog post that I released on TodoMVC, or it's basically frontendmasters.com/blog. We just launched a blog, and you know, the TodoMVC is kind of a sample implementation of like what so yeah, Dustin posted that in the chat, thanks. Kind of, yeah, what could rich client side apps look like as far as code with just vanilla JavaScript, because we know it's the fastest, and honestly it's I think JavaScript's to the point where we have like a lot of really great APIs in the browser, and things are to a point where I think, you know, I think a lot of this I don't know, framework mania is you know, obviously it's frameworks can make us super productive, but I think there's a lot more that we can do with just vanilla. And yeah, but I'm also kind of a fan of TypeScript, so we might start typing some more of our modules internally. With that, I think we're at an hour. If there's any final questions, yeah, I'm willing to answer them, but I think this has been a good first hangout. Let me see if there's any questions that I missed. I think there was a question about how does an average day go by for people working on Frontend Masters, and I asked our lead UI dev, and he said, oh, you know, you write bad code, and then you get good ideas, and you fix it up. So I think that's what a lot of us do in our jobs. So that's what it's like. I thought that was funny. Are we still working with Jaffer Hussein? With his role at Facebook, I don't think he's able to continue to do kind of public workshops. I definitely reached out to him, but yeah, really enjoyed his instructional style and wish he could continue, but I don't think that's the case, that you'll see any public stuff from him soon. With that, anyways, I think yeah, thanks for everybody who joined and asked questions. I hope this was useful to you in some way. I did record the video, so I'll probably post it out to, I don't know, some platform, YouTube or something. And yeah, cheers everyone.